Hello Internet, I am Corion, your witch in residence. And this video might get me banned. And if it does, well, it only proves my point. Because when being official means being controlled, we've got a big problem. So by making this video, I am most likely never going to get a deal with Airbnb, Skillshare, Honey, Wizards of the Coast, Dolby, or Nintendo. Now, what do they have all in common with Arrowhead, the makers of Helldivers 2? Well, they all run creator, affiliate, partner programs, okay? All of them pitch opportunity, collaboration, promotion, but with control comes power, and power demands responsibility. Today's video is about where that line is crossed and who gets to enforce it. Okay? We're going to dig into the case of LtBuzzLitebeer, who runs a fantastic YouTube channel. What's claimed, what's confirmed, what's missing. Now, I'm going to put all the links that I worked with ChatGPT and various other spots to find to get this information together. I am totally fine with being fact-checked. If you guys or anyone else who sees this video finds something incorrect within the next, let's say, week, please post it in the comments or feel free to email me directly, and I will do a follow-up video that includes these corrections, okay? I am not a news person. I am a witch on the internet who talks about cool stuff that he's seen, okay? Now, then we'll zoom out and talk about how creator programs work in YouTube and game dev and really the entire industry, right? And we'll walk through the practical ethics of this framework. I'm going to provide 9 rules you can test creators and platforms by so that you know that the content you're getting is genuine and not just, well, propaganda, okay? Now, we'll see how that framework should apply to the Helldivers 2 community. And in closing, I want to talk about what creators and viewers can do to demand healthier systems, okay? Now, let's start with LtBuzzLitebeer. Now, for the record, BuzzLitebeer, if you see this video, I have absolutely loved your videos. I love the way you cover Helldivers 2 news. I'm sorry about what happened to you. I understand you're going to continue on with that. And if that is the case, more power to you. I'm going to continue to watch your videos. And I hope others continue to do the same. So let's start with what we know, or at least what is claimed. LtBuzzLitebeer broke the story himself in the video, The Truth About My Helldivers 2 Ban. That's going to be the first one. Okay? He says he was removed from the Helldivers 2 content creator program, not banned from the game itself. Let's make that clear. Okay? Now, according to community discussion, the conflict centers around one segment in which he briefly showed a few other creators' thumbnails for about 2 or 3 seconds while critiquing clickbait/hype style videos. Now, not saying any one creator is a clickbaity or hype type person, just that these type of videos exist, okay? Now, the claim is that Arrowhead asked him to remove or edit that portion, which he refused, and then he was removed from the program. Here's the thing though, look closely. There was no public Arrowhead statement confirming the request for removal, which I think there should have been. There was no published terms or rule that explicitly banned showing thumbnails or commentary on the video. There are no known appeals or public process for dealing with this. And it's unclear whether this was considered a violation of the policy or simply a discretionary rule. the Steam thread that I'm going to include below, summarizes it bluntly. He's not been banned from the game. He's been removed from an exclusive content creators program. This special treatment comes with a price. If Arrowhead didn't feel he was living up to his end of the deal, they're free to remove him from the program. Technically, true. The thread also references the edit request narrative. Arrowhead reportedly demanded censorship, but refused, ban followed. But I do want to point out we don't see any verifiable document email or reports. So, while Buzz's case is a compelling story, it is built on claims of community reconstruction, not official issues. And that ambiguity is precisely what makes a case like this work. Now, before we extend the case to broader evidence, let's step back and see how these creator programs generally work, what they promise, how they enforce, and where power hides. Okay? Affiliate, partner, or creator programs, because they go by a bunch of different names, are pretty much everywhere. YouTube has their own. I actually use one. YouTube has channel memberships, which, look, I freely use and encourage people to join, right? Super chats, which are great. They're a great way to tip your YouTube content creator and monetization tiers. Again, I use them. I freely admit I do. And part of their rules about it have a lot to do with not misleading people about what they are. And if you guys ever have any questions about my membership rules and the things I'm under, I'm more than willing to answer them publicly and completely honestly, because I want to make sure that you guys understand what I've got working on. And I agreed to those rules because none of the limits on them particularly negatively impact this channel. They want me to, if they ever wanted me to not comment on something, generally these are things that I don't really cover. Or if I do, I will review, say, a movie that happens to cover it very succinctly and post that up in such a way that you guys can read it. Now, game devs and publishers run creator networks or partner programs that offer perks, early access, revenue share, promo support, free giveaway codes, right? And they're actually pretty valuable. They come with exposure, legitimacy, and I'll give you an example. There are a lot of creators in the Helldivers community that have giant bundles of super credits, which is the in-game currency, to give away to members for doing whatever the content creator wants on their videos. So, for example, there are content creators that say, hey, leave a specific symbol in the comments to be entered into a raffle to win these giveaways. Very, very common way that this is done. Other video game companies do this too. There is a certain, let's call it a raid-based game that gives promotional codes that people can hype, and if you get enough people to sign up under that promotional code, there is a cash bonus to now, but they also consolidate, right? When you're part of this inner circle, you often give out some soft sponsor to drive your narrative. We're talking about which videos get boosted by them. So one of the benefits of the Arrowhead Helldivers is if you make a Helldivers video on their Discord server and several other places, your video will get, your video will trigger a notification saying, hey, this person made a new content video about our game, go check it out, right? But of course, if they don't like the video, they don't have to do that. So that hits your YouTube video, meaning you get less views, meaning you get less share of the ad revenue. So it actually costs you money. So you kind of have to play by their rules, right? They can pull access. So if one of your big pieces is you provide, spoiler type information about, things coming to the game, or that you get an advanced copy of the book, they could just not send you that advanced copy of whatever book, so you don't get the chance to review it before your competitors do. And again, you'll lose views, right? They can demand alignment or promotional language. So one of the things you'll see that I do in my videos is I have very specific wording I tend to use when I talk about, liking the channel and subscribing. I ask that once you've gotten that okay to a ritual out of the way. That is a call to action statement that I created for my channel, but other people have specific call to action statements that they're asked to use to try to encourage you to be part of their community. And that can be very cutting into somebody's system. Again, we're going to talk, a certain raid-based game. They often insist that the content creator comment about how they play the game, or they have a guild in the game. They might expect you to self-censor or not criticize the game. Okay? This is, to me, the most dangerous part of these programs, and why I'm pretty leery about signing up for them. Look, part of the self-censorship and criticism piece is they can say, oh yeah, you can't mention the fact that our video game goes down for 6 hours every Thursday. It's a pain in the butt because those 6 hours happen. You have or if something really bad happens in the game, there's a bad patch and it causes lag problems for a bunch of players, don't mention it. Or a D&D book adds, a new D&D book adds a rule that's going to be wildly unpopular, but you're not allowed to mention it in any way. Now, for those of us who are really into a hobby or a game or a show, this doesn't affect us, okay? Because we already know, right? Somebody leaks somewhere that this new rule is coming out and it sucks and it's going to cause problems for everybody. Who it doesn't protect is the mom who doesn't understand D&D, who is heard about this new book for their kids' hobby and goes to read a review online and sees all these boosted creators who have been boosted artificially by being a part of these creator programs who are talking about how great the book is. And they think this is a genuine review by a genuine person and not a paid advertisement, effectively like some of the old infomercials on cable TV at like 3 a.m. They don't see it through that lens. They see it through, oh, this is just a guy sitting in his basement or his alternate dimension, feeding information into YouTube. No. This is a regular content creator who's just like me, who happens to do this because they love it, not because they're getting paid by the company to give it a favorable review. Now, a lot of creators accept this as the cost of doing business. They are full-time YouTubers, which, believe me, I wish I could count myself among the ranks, right? But a lot of these guys are full-time YouTubers. This is their job. And if they upset the apple cart, they are risking their family's income, right? And this is kind of dangerous. If a company controls visibility, then that control can become censorship by proxy. We've seen similar things on YouTube where there are certain topics touch that. I'm a guy who reviews pop culture movies through the lens of spirituality. It usually doesn't come off. But, for example, I wouldn't be able to say certain names of leaders. I'd have to come up with creative ways to say other names. Now, here are my 9 pillars, 9 principles for any creator out there who's getting involved in one of these programs that I think you need to check to see if these programs are okay. And this is, I'm not going to say that they are completely, unionized or what have you. I think these are just fair. Okay? Now, I think these are useful for whether you're a creator or a viewer who just cares about the health of the creators you're watching and what they're producing. So first, I'm a big fan of transparency of terms. Okay? It should be very public what the rules are for joining, the benefits, the violations, and that the removal must be public and unambiguous. Okay? So that's rule 1. Real easy. Rule 2. Due process and a right to respond. When a violation is alleged, the creator gets notice, a chance to respond, or appeal. Now that did happen in the BuzzLitebeer situation, right? He was given a set number of hours to do something, like to either edit or remove his content. I also think number 3 is a really important one. Non-retaliation for good faith critiques. Now, people will recall that I have gone off on Kathleen Kennedy. I have gone off on Disney a couple times. I have blasted Wizards of the Coast and will continue to blast that company and Hasbro to the end of the earth. I'm not done with you. Every year I'm planning on releasing a rant video about the terrible nonsense that you've done. Okay? But if you're being critical of a game, a policy, or a dev, that shouldn't automatically threaten your status, so long as you're being constructive in your criticism. Things like, hey guys, I think making that comment or this, balance setting was a mistake. Here's my argument as to why it is. I think is a fair critique. I think that deserves to be a conversation. Number 4, disclosure and conflicts. So, affiliations, gifts, promotional obligations should be discussed so audiences know what's paid for. Okay? If you're giving away in-game currency as a part of your YouTube channel, you should state where that in-game currency is coming from. It shouldn't just be, hey, we're giving away, ultra mega super credits for your favorite game. Just, type in, my channel rocks kind of thing in the comments. No, it shouldn't be that. It should be, Wizards of the Coast has agreed to give us this to give to you for you doing the fun. I think that's fair. And I think it makes it very, very clear where so policy should target certain behaviors like harassment, defamation, but should not target content correction. Okay? You can say things like, I think this book has the following problems. What you shouldn't be saying is, I think the writer of this book suffered a recent blow to the head. Because it's not really constructive. Okay? So I think that is a fair position to allow for something like this. Number 6, evidence and source labeling. Okay? This is super important as far as I'm concerned. We should have to distinguish claims, speculation, and confirmed facts. Correction should always be allowed in video. If a content creator says, hey, I just read this rule book, I think this rule is going to be really cool, and then they get to the play table, and it turns out that this rule breaks the game wide open, they should be able to come on and say, look, I know I initially said this was great, but having actually played it and actually worked with it, I've realized how much of a problem it is. Okay. So, number 7, there should be a correction/grace window. If a mistake is made, a grace period to correct it should be allowed, say like 48 hours or so, before punitive action escalates. So if you say to a content creator, hey, this is not in line with the agreement that we have, I'd like you to take this down. You've got 48 hours to do it, and after that 48 hours, we're going to have a phone call, and if we still disagree on it over the next 48 hours, then we talk about it. I think that's fair, and it fosters a good business relationship and trust, and makes it very clear what actions are going to have the following. Number 8, this is huge, and it's not happening in any of the programs I've seen so far, and I really, really want it. We need to have separate moderation and marketing arms. Okay? The folks who are boosting and promoting creators should not be the same people who ban them. Let me spell it out. If a marketing guy tells you to add a thing, and you say, wow, it's unethical to add that thing because I absolutely know it is not in the game, or it is not in the product. It's not the marketing guy who told you to do it that should be able to ban it. It should be a czar who officially handles disputes like this. A content moderator, like a content program moderator, who sits down with you and discusses them outside of everything else. And just sits down and goes, why do you feel this way? Where's your problem? And if you two agree fundamentally, then, you know, it's the marketing team that has to accept it and eat the pizza for that. My last pillar, number 9, ban brigading, coordinated attacks, harassment across platforms. These things can't happen to people that are not going to play. Okay? You need to ensure moderation spans all the external platforms, not just the game. Okay? If I am a content creator and I say something negative about Wizards of the Coast, Wizards of the Coast should not be allowed to ban me from D&D Beyond. They should be allowed to say you can no longer be part of the creator program. You're back down to a regular content creator that's not affiliated with us. Go. And if somebody posts a video of one of mine, you know, WotC official forum, it shouldn't be immediately banned because that guy was banned from the program. It should be a point where people can discuss and decide for themselves whether that person behaved in an ethical manner or not. Okay? These are, I think, the rules that need to be in place in these systems, right? And I know they're not perfect. Okay? No rule system put in place is inherently perfect. There's nothing a smart man who is determined can't figure their way around. But it's a start. Okay? It's a place to base your framework on and then get down to the specifics afterwards. Because here's what's going on right now. And this is what's scary. And it should be scaring you guys too. Okay? This is what's wrong currently with creator programs that tilt too far to control. These are happening. Okay? Adobe is a great example. They are chilling speech. They are trying to avoid critiques of their product by making sure that any of the content creators that what a lot of people don't realize on the next one is that this is actually what caused a lot of major issues a few years ago, which was pay to play and exclusivity pressure, right? Creators are compelled to choose a side, be it either one product over another, or only cover Nintendo stuff, never cover Sega, like those sort of things, or they're told to only give favorable reviews, and if they won't, they'll be dragged through the mud. And the event I'm talking about is Gamergate. Okay, if you actually look up what initially started this, it is highly implied that one of the editors at a major gaming news firm was engaging in, how shall I put it, extracurricular activities with developers because she was getting information from them that she could use in her articles. Okay. There's a lot of backroom nudging and suggestion. Things like, you might want to reconsider the video direction you're going, right? This is what I expect I'm going to get an email and probably several phone calls in the next couple of weeks, is somebody saying, yeah, you may not want to do that because, if you ever want to get if you ever want to get money from Nintendo for covering their products or discussing any of their products, you better play ball, and if you don't, well, we're going to go after you. There's also a bit of reputation leverage. Like, they will make an example of someone who didn't play by the rules. And that's really dark. I don't think we have to go into that. These are the terrible things. Now, there are some really good counter arguments to everything I've said here, right? Companies have rights. They can reward or not. And that is true. But decent ethics demand a consistency, fairness, and clear contract. Okay? I am not saying that the company doesn't have the right to say, look, so long as you keep saying good things about me, we will send you stuff. But that also needs to be completely, properly laid out. There's actually one group that I can point to that was really reasonable about it. Everybody still went with it. And that was actually the Hearthstone Street Team with Blizzard. They were given a whole bunch of stuff to give away, provided they ran routine tournament events in their area and took pictures of those events to send to Blizzard. And when people had significant protests and concerns and were upset about their Blizzard's dealings with how they behaved in China, they cut anybody who made themselves like, hey, I'm not okay with this. Everybody parted ways in a very amicable way. They were like, we understand, you don't like our you don't like how we feel about this. You don't have to be part of the tournament program anymore, the street team anymore. Have a good day. Hey, cool. And they never disparaged anyone by doing it, right? So as an example, I think if the argument is made, they dropped him because he broke the terms, is defensible only if those terms were public, fair, and consistently applied throughout the organization. Okay? Another one that I'm going to get a lot of, I'm sure, is, hey, if you don't like the rules, don't join. Now, that can be an argument, but it's only valid when creators actually have viable alternatives, right? When your audience follows the developer's platform, opting out can just be enough. So I don't really see that as viable if your channel was basically created as a side channel that is now becoming a primary channel. There are people that are in that situation. They're going to be giving up their life. I don't think it's fair to ask somebody to write propaganda if they don't write propaganda. We're going to I don't think it's right. some will claim that revealing internal policy is risky. If they have to put out all these things about the development program, right? That could lead to leaks or gaming the system. And fine. But that doesn't excuse vague shifting or secret terms at all, right? It's just, it's not okay. Now, here's what I am proposing as reasonable and fair guardrails for a healthier system that I think everybody should use. Publish your policy docs publicly, okay? Have a spot on the website saying, hey, here the rules are creator content program website. Create an appeals or an oversight, right? Perhaps with some external creators. Put 2 or 3 of the guys that are not part of your creator program, what are YouTube creators on, as well as some build a 48-hour correction right. Separate the marketing and promotion teams and compliance and reinforcement teams. So marketing and compliance are 2 separate teams, and they don't get to overlap, and they don't get to have, one doesn't get to cover for the other. Mandate source labeling in creator commentary. Okay? So creators, when they're creating a video, if a new product or service is coming out, it needs to be confirmed, or it's likely based on the following evidence, or it's, pull out your tinfoil hats because it's rumored to. Okay? I think the next piece is encourage open feedback loops and periodic audits. Look, I think you should encourage open feedback. I should. Listen, if I produce something and I get feedback from somebody saying, hey, I didn't like it and here's why, I'm going to listen to that. I'm not going to listen to the jerk that's like, I don't know, you're an a-hole and bye, right? I'm not going to listen to those. But if somebody's like, look, I don't like your content, here's what I think you could do to improve it, I'll absolutely listen to it. And I have, in fact, listened to it in the past, right? That's actually why I got this mic, was because people were initially complaining I wasn't loud enough or I was coming in really fuzzy. So I got a really good mic, okay? And periodic audits, yeah. Every so many months, do a state of the community discussion. And actually go out and ask people, hey, what do you think was going on? Now, when removing creators, you should always release short, respectful public note of privacy. Why violation of rules to the community process. So, in this case, saying something like LtBuzzLitebeer violated our terms of service as per section 3, paragraph 14, which is available on our site. So we have decided to remove him from our content creator program, but we wish him the very best and hope he continues to create excellent content. Hey, that'd be great, right? And reward honesty, right? Spotlight creators who have corrected errors or changed stances when I do shows with the writer brother. Shout out to the writer brothers. And we screw something up, we don't get something right. We always willing to admit, hey, yeah, we screwed up, right? We missed this, we didn't get this right. Here's the correct. And I'm big on that because I believe that I try to give you guys the facts as I see them when I see them. I don't always get it. And I freely admit that. And I hope I am encouraging discourse in the comments about some of the issues that I bring up. And I really want those discussions. And if you guys want to discuss anything that I brought up here, please do. And let's have a genuine, honest, and fair discussion. Hell, if you have a really good case to bring up and you think you've got me dead to rights and you want to have a debate on something I've said, and you've got a good argument, heck, man, I'll bring you on the channel and stream it and put it out there so that, you know, the community gets to see the argument and gets to decide for themselves. Okay? I'm always willing to do that. I am not necessarily, I'm like a dude on a soapbox in public square trying to make my points. But if I don't have something right, or you feel I'm just way off, you know, bring it, let's discuss it. All I ask is have a good, well-formed opinion when you do. You know, do your homework so that I don't have to do your homework for you in a discussion. So let's bring this all back to Arrowhead and Buzz, okay? If Arrowhead had a transparent policy on showing thumbnails or commentary on other creators' content, there would be a lot less room for ambiguity. Okay? If Buzz had received a notice and a chance to respond before anything happened, the reaction would look less like an absolute retaliation. If removal was accompanied by a short statement, removed for violating policy showing why the community could judge their consistency rather than just, you know. Now, if the marketing arm had no authority to enforce bans, you could avoid the entire conflict of interest. And if Buzz had corrections with it, he might have edited or annotated rather than just straight up face removal. Now, he has since gone on to say that he wouldn't have removed it regardless, but he may have annotated it with a short statement over the video saying something like, I'm not calling out a specific content creator, these are just examples of thumbnails, right? And I think all of these reduce the, I'm going to call it the drama tax, right? The mythology of betrayal. Right? If you get a particularly salty creator saying something like, oh, you know, these guys were just a-holes from the start, and I was trying to be cool with them because I was trying to give them a leg up on my massive channel. You know, kind of like a hurtful and reckless. And the community kind of comes together. Actually, here's where you violate it. Here's where it's supposed to be. Here's all the things that, you know, we are, you know, saying that this is what led us to this action. But thank you very much for your help when you did offer it. It ends those debates. It ends those discussions. It stops the fighting inside a community. And it also potentially provides somebody who's doing research as to whether they want to get involved in a game or not, the yes, this happened, and this is how it was resolved kind of stance, which encourages investor trust. So the question becomes ultimately what you can do as a creator or a viewer to push towards, you know, YouTube content health, right? Now, if you're a creator, one, hey, thank you for checking out my channel, but demand public policy, demand chances to respond, label your speculation, and reward accountability. Okay? Don't take deals where you are signing away your soul. Right? Now, as a viewer, first, oh my god, thank you for seeing my video. Please watch the rest of them. It really means a lot to me. And if you could like and subscribe, you will earn my undying gratitude. But reward creators who correct themselves, who link sources, who don't just shout hot takes. Okay? I know that content feels good, but ask for the receipts. I will always try to provide them, and I hope others do too. Now, as a community, don't cancel people or products or anything based on speculation. Ask for those receipts. Push for transparency. If the video, and if this video does get me banned from any program, I will tell you I will link to the reasons why, and you'll know why. Okay? But if the system is healthy